May 2006 of 16th, 2017, regular city council meeting. I would like to have roll call, please.
Mayor Cleveland,
Here.
Vice Mayor Didball.
It's turned way up.
Turn it down.
Thank you.
Here. Councilman Buckland,
Here.
Councilmember Cardoza,
Here.
Councilmember Harris.
Okay, Preet Didball will be giving the invocation, and Mr. Morris, would you lead us in the pledge?
Lord, we are here today to conduct matters of business, guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, right thought, and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for your peace. Thank you for being our source of guidance today and every day. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Appreciate that. And I knew you would enjoy doing that. Okay, we have some proclamations today. Let's see, we have National Nurses Week, and it would be Nurse Acela Achela and Nurse D. Arata, I think it is. Right up front. Thank you. All right. Well, here's our proclamation for you. It's good to see you. May 6th through 12th was National Nurses Week. Nearly 3.1 million nurses in the United States comprise our nation's largest healthcare profession. Professional nursing has been demonstrated to be an indispensable component of the safety and quality of care of hospitalized and home health patients. Ride Out celebrates National Nurses Week with a week-long series of appreciations and events themed the balance of mind, body, and spirit. For more than 500 registered nurses and 400 nursing support staff working at Ride Out Surgery Center and Ride Out Senior Living. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Stan Cleveland, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire council, ask that all residents of Yuba City join me in honoring the many nurses who care for all of us and show our appreciation for our community's nurses every opportunity throughout the year. Proclaim the 16th day of May 2017. First, before we move on and stuff, my mother actually served as the school nurse and went through the training. You know, they're not quite as advanced, but she did take all that when I was second grade, third, fourth, fifth grade. So I had a great experience with her doing that. So here, any comments?
I just want to say thank you, and I want to say that it's a privilege and an honor to care for patients in our community, in our facility.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. There's a lot of items happening, proclamations, Public Works, and I was giving some names here. I had an update here, I better grab that on the names. So, we have Elliot Peters, Water Treatment Plant Maintenance Mechanic. Kathy Willis, Wastewater Treatment Facility Operator 3. Phil Marler, Water Distribution Supervisor. Scarlett Harris, Administrative Assistant. And I know that we have maintenance workers Jack McDaniel, Anthony Brunson, Dale Cadger, and maintenance worker Jason Benzel. I got people laughing at me.
No. Sorry, we're not laughing at you, Mayor.
Oh, yeah, okay. Never know. And then we also have, we'd like to have them come up, and then Scarlett Harris will be introducing a video. So all those ones that I named, please come forward. And I'm also told that there's a few other here. I would like them that I missed. Please, I'll let you speak into the mic what your name is. So who did I not call out? Or did I get them all?
Tim and Robert.
Yeah, you're supposed to come up. Okay, there you go. Okay.
We got somebody in the back row too. Come on up, Greg. Get up here, Greg.
Yeah,
Come on up.
come on over. Come on this way.
And we also have Scott. Scott, come on up.
Oh, come on. You got to come up here. Come on. You got a big crew in here. Okay, and it has here that who is it that's going to be doing that? Scarlett. Oh, you're back behind me. And I know that you're going to do a video or something first?
Would you like me to do that, Mayor?
Absolutely.
All right. So, good evening.
With Yuba City Public Works, it's what we do every day that counts. For the Water Distribution Division, commitment is what we do.
Our division is committed to the city's distribution system 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
There's always a water distribution team member on call.
Day or night, the Water Distribution Division is committed to you. Our commitment goes beyond the workday, whether answering a customer's call on the weekend, doing night work as part of a city construction project, or in the classroom studying for a water distribution exam.
Every water distribution employee is dedicated to increasing their knowledge through conferences and certification training.
Then we apply that knowledge to our work in the field.
Commitment isn't just a phrase for the water distribution team. Commitment is what we do, each and every day. Yuba City Public Works. It's what we do.
Sounds great. Awesome. So I do have a proclamation to give to, I guess it would be you, Scarlett, or whichever person who wants to, who would you choose to have it to, or you, or? That's your choice. There we go. It's like a big family, that's why. So, like a real big family. There, she's modeling it well. I don't know about these other models though. It's something to be desired. Anyway, we got to get the right one here. All right, Public Works, May 21st through 27th, 2017. Public Works projects and services create and maintain the vital infrastructure of our city. And the City of Yuba City Public Works Department is proud to provide for the diverse needs of the city, including transportation, construction and maintenance, water treatment and supply, waste treatment and collection, and public facility development and stewardship. And each Public Works employee plays a vital and valuable role in the department, and together can and do their utmost to answer the call with an unpretentious and enthusiastic, it's what we do. I heard that. It's kind of a theme. Now therefore it be resolved that I, Stan Cleveland, Mayor of the City of Yuba City, on behalf of the entire City Council of the City of Yuba City, do hereby proclaim the week of May 21st through 27th, 2017 as Public Works Week, and ask that the citizens and civic organizations acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works, and to recognize the contribution which public works makes in our everyday lives. Proclaim this 16th day of May 2017. Anyway, congratulations. When I was in maintenance and did stuff like that younger, I enjoyed it a lot. I get my hands in the dirt and stuff. In fact, you almost, when I moved into the house I live now, you we almost had to replace one of those fire hydrants because I forgot it was in front of my extra lot and drove right into it in my truck. I still have evidence in the dent in my bumper for that, but I didn't hit it hard enough. But other than that, thank you very much. Appreciate all the hard work you do, and I think everybody here does too.
Mr. Mayor, I think maybe you might ask if they have any comments for you in return. Any of them? Oh.
Do they have any comments or anything? May not want that one. I've worked wastewater. It can be pretty. As long as you don't do like Disney and have the smells come with it, you know. If you ever been to their places, they do that. So, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Anyway, thank you. I'll stand in the spot right here. I think that it echoes out the most, and I think it's right about here. May is Life Month. Lisa Bolt.
Thank you. All right, so first I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Lisa Abel. I'm a member of the Bicycle Advisory Committee through the City of Yuba City. And thank you to the council for having us and supporting our bicycle master plan and the Bicycle Advisory Committee.
Oh, they're playing with the other mic. That's what it is.
It wasn't me, I swear. So here on our slide, you can see some of the completed projects that were funded through the FracMed safety grant. And so we have the bike detection at Queens Avenue and Stabler Lane, and then Queens Avenue and Gray Avenue, and that was recently completed. And here you can see the bike lane that was put in on Franklin Road from Harding to Walton, and as Diana pointed out, you can see the cyclists up there in the bike lane, so we're very happy to see that. It definitely makes cycling through town a lot easier and a lot more safe. So that was also another recently completed project, and that was paid for through the Active Transportation Program project, so which was another grant that was received. This is our current safety campaign project, and the sign you would see out here on Pool Boulevard, this is the 3 feet for safety and go with the flow. This was a project that was implemented through requests from the Bicycle Advisory Committee, and we worked on the wording and the signage, and if you'll notice the color, it's a little different than the standard yellow, so it's very bright and noticeable. And those are going to be put up over the next several weeks or months. Currently, we have $34,000 that was awarded through the FracMed grant, and that we have currently 110 signs that are on order to be put out and about in town. The locations of the signs was something that was determined by the Bicycle Advisory Committee, looking through the areas that are most traveled on bicycle. And then, of course, May is Bike Month. So we have Bike to School Day was on the 10th of May. Then we have coming up the Bike to Work Day, which is this Friday, the 19th. There will be several Bicycle Advisory Committee members working a Energizer station at the town square. So if you are on your bike and want to come out and visit us, we'll be out there. That's from 6:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning. And then again, just a special thank you for supporting the Bicycle Master Plan and the Bicycle Advisory Committee and allowing us as citizens and cyclists in the area to take part in that. We greatly appreciate it.
Any comments or from the council?
To the mayor.
Yes.
Just a comment and thank you very much for the steadfast work that this committee does in presenting the next roadways that truly need to have some of the restriping and things like that on them. The signs are a wonderful addition. The one over by the police department caught my attention today as I went driving down through there, and a very strategic location given that DMV is there and everything else. So well planned. But thank you very much again to the entire committee for all of the work that you do in making sure that we have an integrated safety program with our bicyclists and pedestrians.
Absolutely. It's an honor for all of us, and we all enjoy being on it and doing the work. So thank you.
Thank you.
My comment is I'm very thankful that the striping has gone back up, some of the old stuff that is wore out, because I noticed that it seemed many of the bike riders were confused as to how far to go over, get in their lanes and whatever was when people driving by. And so now this has defined it to where now they're staying within the areas that are safe and everybody has a good definition. So thank you for getting that all done again and restriped and identifying and new locations. And it is our goal as a council that future development will take high consideration, hopefully class 1 bike lanes, which actually gets them off the road,
right,
as many places as possible, and reasonable. So that would make it safe for the bike riders and less precarious for the people driving on the road. So that's our goal.
Thank you, and we appreciate that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 4 is Yuba City Bears baseball team. General Manager Michael Mink. Great to see you again. Yeah.
I hope he's not getting beat with that stick.
I'm backing up a little bit here.
That was kind of scary as that.
All right. Thank you.
I had got you guys in our sea all in suits and stuff, so I figured the appropriate thing for you. I got a nice Yuba City Bears lapel pin for you. It'll look especially great on you, you know. So it's in your package.
It's in a package. All right. Thank you.
How you doing? I'm Michael Mink. I'm General Manager, Vice President of Yuba Center Community Baseball, and I'm here representing Yuba City Bears. I'm the founder of the team, kind of my idea, so I'm on the line for this with an ownership group.
Is it working?
Sorry. I don't need a mic.
Well, no, you don't need it, but it needs to be for recording.
Yeah, can everybody,
This is hot.
all right, can everybody hear me? Okay. I'm Michael Mink, General Manager, Vice President of Yuba City Bears. Yuba Sutter Community Baseball is the owner of the team, owned by Pat Gillick, President of the Philadelphia Phillies, and Knight Transportation and CHA's Holdings out of Canada. And we're looking forward to a great season this year. We're, of course, playing at Calusa Casino Stadium this season. You know, we look forward in the future possibly to be playing over in Yuba City sometime, you know, and with facilities and stuff, updates. One of the biggest things is opening night is June 2nd, and throwing the first pitch right here. So, and also you requested another bat for City Hall, so I had another one custom made out of hickory. There's another one there.
This will be displayed out in the public.
Yep.
So that everybody can see that we have our own Yuba City Bears team.
That's right. And it's
back again.
The awakening. So after 68 years, the Bears are back. They were a team from 1930 to 1949. I'm getting a lot of calls from sons and daughters of their grandfather. Their father played for the Bears. I'm getting pictures of family members that played for the Bears. So when I historically looked at this, it was a very nice thing to bring back, and some of the compliments I've got throughout the community, it's been actually overwhelming. You know, to see that history, and these families are still entrenched here in Yuba City and Sutter County. So it's been a great thing. I think it's even going to get better and better. You know, June 2nd, they open up against the Gold Sox, a tough draw there, but maybe you and the mayor over there can have a little, you know, test there.
We're testing those pitchers you've been talking about.
And one of the biggest things we're doing this year, and I'm going to ask the Yuba City, y'all to help us out with, is I'm big against domestic violence and domestic abuse, and that we're going to be giving free tickets for anybody that brings a blanket or a stuffed animal to a game. They'll get in free. And what we do with those blankets and stuffed animals, we take them to the centers. And a child, I was on the board in Florida, a child, when he gets that blanket after a situation and the police are interviewing him, the blanket or a stuffed animal like calms him down immediately. You know, same with a young female or something. And that's a big program. So if you can help us promote, bring a blanket, bring a stuffed animal, I'll let you in the game free all season long. So, and we'll raise thousands of stuff and help tons of kids, get through a crisis situation. I want to thank you guys for having me here today, and enjoy your gifts, and we look forward to seeing you at the game. All right. Thank you.
I was handed a bag here of pins, and I'm not sure what they wanted me to do. Give it to them? Okay. That's what I thought, but I wanted to make sure. They didn't tell me how to. Michael, you've got some Yuba City pins that you can give out to your players or whomever, because you're part of Yuba City now.
I'll wear it on my suit.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
And through the mayor.
Yes.
I think it would only be appropriate if our mayor were to challenge the mayor of, let's say, Lincoln, the Potters, or another one of the teams. And I know that Ricky is looking forward to the next challenge that's coming out. And
Semiola, you mean the mayor?
yeah,
Okay.
the mayor's he has talked some large stuff, but Lincoln's doing the same thing.
Usually he's full of smoke, but I mean, there's no fire behind it.
Yeah.
But I would think that, a shaved head or something like that by the mayors would probably be inappropriate. Yeah, there you go.
No, I don't think he would either. I don't look good in a shaved head. I know it's the point.
Okay.
This guy here, you have to watch out for him. He's always...
At the request of the rest of the council, I'll withdraw that request then.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd have to wear a hat, and I don't like hats. Tell you, I don't know what to do with him. But that's good. I'm looking forward to the Bears season this year, and I will be throwing out the first pitch. And I'll try to hurry back over to Yuba City High School to be at their graduation if I can make it. Luckily, my house is real close. I can just walk over there.
So Mayor, that night there's 2 firework displays. One at the conclusion of the ball game.
Yes.
On the 2nd, and then the Yuba City graduation is that night. So we hope the citizens don't think that Marysville and Yuba City are at war with one another.
War with each other.
Yeah.
just a baseball competition. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. It'll be exciting. We're going to go on to number 5, emergency evacuation after action report from Fire Chief Pete Daly and Chief of Police Rob Landon.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. Thank you for having us here this evening. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the handout or the book that you have in front of you, the after action report. It covers the Flood Watch 2017. And with any incident, major incident, any type of public safety, one of the last things you want to do is make sure that you take care of the paperwork. And our goal is to always get better. So we try to identify the things that we did right and the things that we can do better in this report. It's pretty in-depth. The fire department, everybody had a play on this, and I know the fire chief spent a lot of time getting this all together. So this is going to be the first look at this evening. So it covers the period of February 12th through February 14th. I don't think I have to rehash your memories too much. That evening at 4:30 when it came out on social media is where I got my first notice. We're alerted on broadcast by the DWR, the auxiliary spillway at Oroville was subject to imminent failure. Portions of Butte County, Yuba County, Sutter County, City of initiated a mandatory evacuation. Yuba City citizens began to self-evacuate. City staff reported to the city EOC. Command staff met and quickly decided to highly recommend a voluntary evacuation. And over the next several hours, thousands of citizens evacuated to the west and to the south. So as far as major events that we're going to cover, the first 48 hours, city staff, mutual aid, law enforcement resources were used for the following things: to maintain security of the city, provide emergency services, maintain the key infrastructure, patrol the levees, monitor the river levels, and provide logistical support for employees. And this is a look at the Emergency Operations Center down at the fire station on Olier. The next major event after the event was over was, of course, the repopulation. We met as a group with the CHP and all the involved agencies to try to determine a path to bring everybody back in now that we had a majority of the city evacuated. There was a lot of self-repopulation during that event, and we did have a good plan that we came up, but at the end of the day, what we did was we put a lot of officers on both sides of the street, and we made sure that everybody came in safely. There was a lot of people bringing themselves back in, and we knew that was going to happen. The evacuation order was lifted on Tuesday, February 14th. And then this was some of the stuff we did afterwards, this particular thing, this evacuation flood map. I don't know if you had the opportunity to look at Butte counties. One of the problems that was identified early was people didn't know where to go. The biggest problem with that is there's not a lot of places to go. And when you have Butte County already on the road and you have every other citizen on the road already and our officers still responding, it creates quite a traffic jam. So that's one of the things we identified. We're going to try to do better in the future. And what we've done is we've provided 5 different zones, broke up Yuba City into 5 different zones, and developed an evacuation map for each one. Of course, things are going to change depending on the event, but if we're going to try to put these out on the, if they're not already, on the website. Where's Darren? They're already on the website, aren't they? Okay, so if you click on it, you'll see the different zones. They're divided exactly like the beach structures. There is an area for people without transportation to gather at each different zone. Some of them have 2, depending on how big the zone is. And then we've coordinated, it'll be coordinated, the transportation will be coordinated to the Emergency Operations Center and Yuba Sutter Transit and YCUSD, the school district. So each one will have a particular one, and that's one of the things that we'll try to make path smoother. We've also identified the major choke points from the last evacuation, and we're going to try to get there. And hopefully we have more than a social media notice next time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Daly.
Thanks, Chief. So good evening. So one of the questions that came up that we wanted to address in the after action report was there's a lot of question on mandatory versus voluntary evacuations in different jurisdictions. So I try to put it up here to kind of give a little perspective on why certain direction was taken. So if you look at Yuba City, if you look at the geography, the city is responsible for 15 square miles. Each jurisdiction has differing areas of geographic exposure. So if you compare Yuba City to Sutter County has about 600 square miles. So their issue was a lot different than ours as far as evacuation. They had a larger area, less population. We had a smaller area with a greater population. And also for us, a voluntary evacuation allowed the city to monitor the situation and evaluate information provided to the city by DWR that changed regularly regarding Oroville Dam specifically. So our focus was specifically on Oroville Dam, and our focus was on the Feather River here in Yuba City because that was what was going to impact us. Sutter County was not only monitoring Oroville Dam as well, but also flows out of Shasta because they still had the Sacramento River on the west side of Sutter County. So they had already have issues. They had other additional issues that we did not have here in the city. The city was informed that if the emergency spillway did fail, it would take at least 8 hours for the water to reach the city of Yuba City or the area, the surrounding area. So that had an impact of, we knew we had some additional time. And like I said, Sutter County had multiple threats of flooding from different sources compared to, we were just looking at one specific area. We also felt comfortable that if there was a mandatory evacuation was required, that we'd be able to meet that obligation in far less than 8 hours and evacuate the community if needed so. So we felt comfortable with a voluntary evacuation and self-evacuation at that time. Some of the challenges we did identify was receiving timely and accurate information from DWR regarding the status of the emergency. I can tell you for a fact, and I've mentioned this before, I was there 3 to 4 days prior to this event happening, there for briefings every morning at 10 o'clock for the cooperator meeting, and there also in the afternoon for their planning meeting. And every step of the way, I was in those meetings identifying exactly, along with Bill Fuller, my administrative analyst with the city, taking notes and figuring out what the next course of action was. We were there, Bill and myself were there at 12:30 that day, and everything was doing well until 4:30 came around, and then things didn't go so well. So I can tell you when I left it, when Bill and I left at 12:30 in the afternoon, there was not a concern about the auxiliary or emergency spillway at that time. But that's an issue that we have because we didn't get really good information. Communication and coordination between local government agencies on evacuation procedures and trigger points, I think that's an important thing that we need to look at. I think we should have some pre-designated trigger points and other items to be able to effectively evacuate in a timely fashion. Timely notification of emergency status and actions to the public. Obviously, it's really important to notify the public as quickly as possible. Coordinating emergency public information releases. I think that's very important. Make sure the same message is getting out. And then obviously traffic caused by rapid evacuation. That poses a challenge for us, as Chief Landon mentioned earlier, that they're working on. Some of the successes, because we did have some successes, was given the short time frame, citizens were able to self-evacuate. It took a while, but they were able to do that. The EOC was quickly staffed and operational. Our rapid notify system worked. We were able to notify citizens of voluntary evacuation. Instant briefings between the day and night shift were very effective. Communication with other local and state agencies and districts were effective once we got things up and running. And then planning with local agencies during the repopulation was very successful because we actually had some time to work on that, so that ran very smooth for us. Some of the future actions I think we need to take a look at, as the chief and I have discussed, is on the public notification side, we need to refine our procedures for rapid notify and tune that in a little bit better. Encourage public use of the Nixle notification system. We're building some redundancy in, which I think is good. I'd rather have 2 notification systems than 1 in case we have problems. As we found out, sometimes cell phones are reliable and sometimes they're not. Update the city's local highway advisory radio station. We've done some work to that already. We need to make some additional improvements. Definitely promote community awareness, and also look at reprinting our Be Prepared Yuba City. We have a household emergency guide for preparedness and get that out to the public even more than we already have. On the training end, we were in the process of training our city employees as disaster workers when this happened. We were probably a couple months into it. The city has updated and expanded the training schedule to be completed by October of this year. We'll provide training to local officials before then. We'll provide specific command tabletop exercises for key executive staff. And we'll coordinate with other agencies and cooperators on the operation of a joint information center, which I think is important. On the evacuation plans, continually refine and update our plans. Develop a plan for disseminating this information to the public. On the EOC side, our Emergency Operations Center, last year we spent through a grant about $111,000 or $118,000 that the council authorized, where we were able to achieve software updates. So those updates were in place when we opened our EOC and definitely helped us with our communications. The goal for this year is to update some of the hardware that we have. A long-term goal would be obviously to transition into a permanent facility through some grants and other funding sources. So I'll be happy to, or we'll be happy to take any questions if you have any at this time.
Questions or comments? I only have one based upon something that people keep asking me about, and are one-ways going to be considered, east, west, south, or whatever, as a possible routing, you know, because very few will be coming back, so it'd be a minor road compared to the, you know, the highway could, how is anything like that going to be considered?
It has been looked at. It's probably not feasible to do. It's usually a California Highway Patrol that runs Highway 20 and 99, which are major thoroughfares. There's a lot of problems with that because that means you have to staff every single, not just intersection, you're talking about driveways. Yeah. And if you count the driveways and egresses onto Highway 99, I counted them the other day and there was over 100 from a very short, you know, couple miles. So you're talking about personnel there or staffing with barricades. So we'll continue to evaluate everything, and that has been looked at.
Yeah, I had to ask that because people need to know the difficulties that it would be if we were to do that, which just means we need to get 4 lanes going all the way that way so we can have better highway.
Through the mayor.
Anyway, yes.
I have a question regarding our schools. We were fortunate this time that it was on a Sunday. So as far as the school systems, is there coordination also with these plans with our school districts to make sure that they're incorporated and they're getting the training, or a collaboration between the two? So if our children are in school, parents are at work, how do we get them all together and know what facilities they're at and so forth?
We do work with them. They all have their own plans, like the Yuba City Unified School District, the different private entities that have schools. We look at their programs, we evaluate them. We were fortunate this time it was a Sunday, but on the last time, you know, we were fortunate also that it was a prolonged period of time that we were able to get them out of school, and they monitor that very closely. So it's obviously with you and everybody else, it is the utmost concern for us to make sure that our children are protected. We understand the separation from the parents, and we think the schools have a good program, a good plan, and we've looked at them, evaluated them. We'll continue to work with them wherever they need our help.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
And I think that, you know, I don't want to beat this horse too far down the road, but we need to be mindful that when we talk about evacuating a city, that we're also bringing in emergency equipment from outside the area to assist us. 125 ambulances moving northbound, 100 to our jurisdiction, another 100 police officers coming in from Lodi, from Sacramento, from all the outlying regions to assist in mutual aid, fire personnel coming in from outside of the area. And then there's movement of infirmed individuals out of rest homes that are now being moved down to places like Woodland, and those ambulances having to make return trips. So swimming against the stream doesn't seem to work when the chain is pulled rapidly on an evacuation, whereas in an 8-hour event, you have plenty of time to be able to react to that and start moving forward with mobilization. You know, in the schools and in future plans, I would certainly hope that we're looking at, you know, key points, much like a snow day on the East Coast or the Midwest, when we can predict that something may happen, that there would be an interruption in the school schedule to allow for families to be together in the event of an emergency. So I think the after action report, as I've read it, I think comprehensively goes through what had happened and certainly has some recommendations that can be expanded upon. So thank you very much for the hard work on this.
I expect a lot more will be coming out of this in the future. And oh, you're going to make a comment?
You don't mind.
Absolutely.
Another thing for the question was raised about Contraflow. We have to really plan that in advance with an hour's notice, especially. We don't have a specific plan in place for that, and with over 100 intersections on Highway 20, it's just not simply safe to do that. People need to plan ideally ahead of time and kind of ease out where it's not a chaotic atmosphere. Fill up your tank. The Evacuation 20 was a huge choke point because people backed up on Highway 20 waiting in line to get into that gas station there. Another one was Wilson and 99. First place I'm sending, well, if anything happens before December, first place I'm sending my people is to Wilson and 99 and Evacuation 20, and divert people from Wilson Road south on Garden Highway over to 113 so they can use that on-ramp southbound. As far as a quick example, against Contraflow scenario, we have 4 lanes leaving town on Highway 20 westbound. As soon as you get to, I believe it's Humphrey Road, it goes down to 2. And so that's going to be your new choke point. It's going to right back up into town, and you're no better off than you were before. And you can't get anybody in. So that's just one example of many I can come up with of why it's not a good idea. And the quick question real quick for you gentlemen. On here we have future actions and steps planned. Do we have a timeline on that, or is there a name and a phone number that I can perhaps have for each one of those to follow up on when I'm asked?
Absolutely, we'll make it available.
Okay. I'm asked a lot. These are really good actions, but I would like to have a name and a face and a phone number I can follow up with.
We'll get with you then. Absolutely, provide it to the council.
Thank you.
He touched on a couple of items that I was going to, so I'm very satisfied. That's good. Anybody else? Seeing none? Thank you very much, and looking for more information later. Appreciate it. Moving on to public hearings. Okay. Looks like a couple of council members may need to make some quick statements, and Ben can read the item. Yuba City Landscaping District Number 1, Stabler Lane, Garden Highway area, Yuba City Lighting Maintenance Districts numbers 2, 3, 4, 5, Town Center, and 69 divisions throughout Yuba City, and the Lighting and Landscaping Maintenance District number 6, Commercial District, and a resolution confirming diagram and assessment and levying assessments. Okay, go ahead.
And through the mayor, I need to recuse myself as I have property with the items in number 6.
And I think somebody, yeah, you do too, according to my notes.
I need to recuse myself as well too.
Okay. We'll see you in a few minutes.
All right, good evening, Mayor Cleveland and members of the council. The item before you is an annual process that the city staff takes upon to adjust our levies in those landscape maintenance districts 1 through 6. Basically, every year there's a cost of living adjustment due to inflation, that we look at those districts and analyze the spending and what needs to be spent and what's in the what's budgeted and what's in the reserves, and to accurately update those assessments so that we're correctly assessing the districts at a fair rate. So this item before you is to conduct a public hearing and after consideration, confirm the diagram and assessment of a levy, levying the assessment for the fiscal year 17-18 to the landscaping pursuant to the Landscaping and Lighting Act 1972. I would be happy to ask any questions regarding any specific rates for the zones.
Any questions from council? Okay. Open public hearing for the proposed Maintenance District 1, Lighting and Landscaping Districts number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the resolution is now open. Any members of the public would like to address the council on these matters? Okay, hearing no further, no comment on this issue, I'm closing the public hearing. Bring it back to the council and looking for action.
Move staff recommendation.
I'll second it.
I got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous vote. Thank you very much. And then moving on to the next one.
We go ahead and.
Oh yeah, we can bring them back in?
Back, yes.
Yeah. They can be brought back in. We could have done it with 3. Not. All right, Ben.
All right, so a very similar item. The item before you is in regards to the Yuba City residential street light maintenance districts for the Walton and Terrabuena area. Basically, the item before you is to conduct a public hearing and then again consider updates to the annual levy for those districts. These areas differ slightly from the last districts where they are streetlights owned by PG&E, where the city collects the dollars, but they are maintained and owned by PG&E. So again, we look at annually. There's adjustments with inflation and costs associated with PG&E increases or changes, and so staff annually looks to adopt these rates to add to the annual assessment, and with consideration that we are not overcharging, but keeping a fair reserve. The districts were analyzed, and I believe the rates stayed the same for these districts as last year due to the reserve balance. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions at this time? Seeing none. Public hearing for the proposed Yuba City residential street lighting maintenance districts. Resolution confirming diagram and assessment, levying the assessment is now open. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this? Seeing none. Bring it back to the council for action.
Move to approve staff's recommendation.
Second that.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to move on to the ordinance. Recreational and medical marijuana cultivation in term urgency ordinance extension. Arnaldo Rodriguez.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Arnoldo Rodriguez, Development Services Director. The item before you this evening is a request to extend the urgency ordinance that was initially considered and adopted by the council on April the 18th of 2017. At that meeting, the urgency ordinance that was presented pursuant to state law was enacted for 45 days. At the termination of those 45 days, the urgency ordinance would sunset. However, the state law also allows a local jurisdiction to extend that urgency ordinance for a period of 10 months and 15 days. So the request this evening is to extend the identical urgency ordinance that was initially adopted on April the 18th of 2017 for an additional 10 months, 15 days. So just in terms of background, the regulations pertaining to marijuana, both the growth, the cultivation, and the use of marijuana, have been in a state of flux in the state of California largely since 1996. Quite frankly, probably one of the key propositions that has resulted in a lot of local jurisdictions taking immediate action was Proposition 64, which was approved by the voters November of 2016. That proposition went into effect the following morning. Since then, a lot of local jurisdictions have been playing catch up. Very quickly, Proposition 64 established a comprehensive system regarding the cultivation of marijuana, the processing of marijuana, the manufacturing, distribution, testing, and sale. The key nuance in terms of Proposition 64 and how it impacted Yuba City historically had a medical marijuana cultivation ordinance. The key characteristic or variable of Proposition 64 being that it also applied to recreational marijuana and not simply medical marijuana. So because of that, that has resulted in city staff preparing the ordinance update that's before you this evening. One of the key things about the urgency ordinance, which we described at the April 18th meeting, is that it does allow the city to ensure that no new outdoor grows are permitted. However, new grows, indoor grows, would be permitted both for recreational and for medicinal purposes, subject to standards which are outlined in the staff report. Some of those standards, just a summary. In terms of residency requirements, someone over the age of 18 does have to reside at the property. The marijuana itself, in terms of a cultivation grow, does have to be locked, and it cannot be accessible to persons under the age of 21. Outdoor cultivation is prohibited. So again, no outdoor cultivation would be permitted within the city. Indoor cultivation is limited to 75 square feet, and you may not exceed 6 plants. There are some setback requirements. The setback requirements on the overhead are, there are a handful of nuances to this. However, for the most part, it's largely a 10-foot rear yard setback with side yard setbacks of 5 feet. Again, there are a couple of exceptions to that. Flooring may not occur on carpeted surfaces. Primary reason for that is for the fear of fire. A ventilation system is required. That same ventilation system is currently on the books, and that also applies for the regulations that were in place prior to this that were specific to medical marijuana cultivation. We do have standards for lighting of marijuana, which is extremely common. So there are standards outlined in the code. Cultivation of marijuana in non-residential districts is not permitted. So if you happen to have a piece of property that's commercial or industrial, it would not be permitted. The exception to that is if you were to happen to have a non-conforming home in those areas. So if it's a non-conforming home, and if that home was built prior to well, it would obviously be permitted, then obviously you can have medical or grows in those areas. Commercial cultivation is prohibited. The sale of marijuana is prohibited. Dispensaries are prohibited. And at the same time, any evidence of cultivation is prohibited from the public right-of-way, and the penalty is $250 a day for the violation, or for a violation. So the state of California stipulates that any urgency ordinance does require a 4/5 vote, and that same 4/5 vote is also required for any extension of an urgency ordinance. So currently, the 45-day period would sunset on June the 2nd, which it actually did show up on June the 2nd of 2017. However, if the extension were to occur this evening, that would kick it out to April 18th of 2018, which I have on the following slide, or 2 slides from now. After during the 1-year extension period, which is the 10-month, 15-day extension period, the council can adopt one extra 1-year extension. So you have a 45-day period, which we're currently in. We have the 10 months, 15-day period, and then after that, we could have an additional 1-year period. And every extension does require 4/5 vote. In terms of CEQA, CEQA only applies to projects which have the potential for causing a significant effect on the environment. Staff does not believe that this is subject to CEQA simply because there's no possibility of significant effects pursuant to the CEQA guidelines. And this evening, staff is recommending that the City Council conduct a public hearing and that the Council adopt an extension of the interim urgency ordinance enacting development provisions for the recreational and medical marijuana cultivation. And the ordinance would be effective for 10 months, 15 days, beginning on June the 2nd, 2017, and sunsetting on April the 17th, 2018, unless an additional 1-year extension was brought back before the City Council for consideration at a future date. During the next 10 months and 15 days, one of the things that staff is going to be reviewing is we're going to be looking at the state guidelines as they're coming out. Again, the situation is very fluid. The state of California is consistently updating its guidelines, and so as they update their guidelines, we have to ensure that those guidelines, or really seeing how those guidelines impact our community. As city staff sees necessary, we'll bring back any modifications for City Council consideration or for discussion. That concludes our presentation.
Any comments from council members? Anything from the public would like to speak at this time? A little extra chance. Actually, my comment is I would have expected you to use the terminology it's a little hazy or smoky rather than fluid at this particular item, but I guess fluid is the one you got stuck on there, so that was good. Yes. Well, since it is a public hearing, I'll hit the gavel, do it official, and anybody wants to speak? Seeing none, bring it back. Comments or action? Do I have any action?
Move to approve staff's recommendation to extend the interim urgency ordinance for the 10 months, 15 days. In the meantime, they can talk to Gavin Newsom about his wisdom in preparing some of the state's documents to help guide us in the near future, so we can make this a permanent ordinance.
I will second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous vote. Thank you very much. And then we have the chiefs are up here again. Okay, Rob Landon. Enforcement strategies regarding the use of dangerous and illegal fireworks.
All right, with less than 50 days to July 4th, we felt this was appropriate timing. We brought this item before council last week. Staff presented the report discussing enforcement, and I don't mean last week, I meant April 25th, discussing enforcement strategies with regard to the use of dangerous and illegal fireworks, including a public hearing, and it was a special meeting. The recommendations of staff were approved, the ordinance was introduced, and the first reading was waived. The item is being brought back at this time to adopt the ordinance, authorize the finance director to record a supplemental appropriation. We've changed the amount from 25 to 27,100, and we'll explain that in just a moment. From unallocated funds to provide for overtime for police and fire, and to provide a fund for miscellaneous advertise and waive the second reading. At council's direction, staff prepared a hybrid alternative with the objective of creating a safer 4th of July period. While some of these measures would occur around July 4th, some would require immediate action. And these items include the creation of a public education campaign, increased directed enforcement by fire and police, a social host ordinance holding the responsible party of a residence or property liable for illegal fireworks, continue to explore a manner to host or help coordinate a public 4th of July celebration, and then a follow-up meeting after the July 4th, 2017 holiday. In the event the city does not experience a measurable decrease in the number of complaints and or illegal firework incidents, explore further options to include the possible prohibition of all fireworks in the incorporated area of Yuba City. And just to expand a little bit, Chief Daly is going to talk about the educational component. I think that one of those slides is on there.
Oops, there it is. So on the educational component, we met yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday with Darren and George and Shauna and myself and a few others, and we started to put together our campaign. And our campaign probably had, I don't have it off the top of my head, but probably 12 to 14 components to it. Everything from newspaper ads, everything from radio spots, video contests we're asking our employees and council to get involved in to help support the public education component, 30-second spots that we can get out there on Facebook, approaching it from the Facebook side as well as other social media. So I think we have a pretty good spread over the next 60 days of getting the message out via social media and other broadcasting ways to ensure that people know. Our phrase that we came up with was safe and sane or feel the pain, $1,000 fine. So we thought that got the message across. And so that's what you're going to see out there quite a bit over the next 50 days to discourage people from using dangerous and illegal fireworks. I think it'll be a good campaign, so we're taking full advantage of it. And so I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any. Otherwise, I'll turn it back over to Chief Landon.
Is that an example of the font size for that safe and sane, that feel the pain? I think it needs to be huge.
I agree, and it will be.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was me trying to shrink it down to fit, so I'm sure that will change. I'm not the PowerPoint expert. So we're also going to do proactive enforcement as part of this strategy. Increased police and fire department personnel will be deployed between July 1st, July 4th. The Directorate Enforcement will consist of teams of police officers partnered with the fire department, a member, counterpart in marked and unmarked vehicles. Teams will be on patrol from 1900 till 0200, so 2 in the morning on all 4 of those nights. In addition to that, on 4th of July, to answer the YC 311 calls, we'll have an additional dispatcher. And in order to support our incorporated areas of Walton, we are going to, and we have talked with the Sheriff Department, they're going to provide us with a counterpart for the fire department to also explore during the same, to provide enhanced direction during that same period of time. So they will be there in that same area. Additional research will continue to be looked at for the 4th of July celebration, and the proactive enforcement will also have the opportunity to use our new social media ordinance that we talked about at the last council meeting, which will include writing administrative citations and the enhanced penalties for a misdemeanor. And in future efforts, again, we'll come back, we'll explore this, and we'll look at how successful it was, and we'll move forward from there. So the fiscal impact, the total cost of implementation of the enhanced enforcement along with a comprehensive public awareness campaign is $27,100. The recommendation of staff is to adopt an ordinance adding section 5602.2 to section 4-5.02 of chapter 5, title 4 of the Yuba City Municipal Code regarding dangerous fireworks, waiving the second reading, and authorize the finance director to record a supplemental appropriation from unallocated funds to the following accounts: $12,000 for miscellaneous advertise, $6,500 to police overtime, $6,500 to fire overtime, and $2,100 to police professional services, which will be used for the Sheriff's Department. And the alternative is to decline to adopt the dangerous fireworks ordinance, retaining ordinance in its current format, or to provide staff with further direction regarding. However, due to the time restraints, that will put a hamper on what we're going to do. With that, I'll answer any questions that council may have.
Any questions of the council or comments? Perhaps next year we could get the schools and even the our Parks and Rec to do a kind of a drawing contest, a poster, get a couple of series of those out, and then present them at the actual kids parade, and actually have those set up for parade day, and we could have them displayed and everything in a larger size. And get the kids educated into it because, they tend to drive remind the parents not to do things.
Well, it sounds like you were at our meeting because the idea that we came up for next year was we're gonna have a coloring contest this year, but it'll probably be through the Peel Democrat.
Yeah.
But next year we're gonna try and hit it like I think we were talking around March. We're gonna try and get a coloring contest going through K through 6, and then whatever we choose, that will be our logo. So we'll get so that'll be part of the prizes. Is whoever the winner is, their logo will be used for their drawing will be used for our logo. So we're going to meet that need.
Great, thank you, appreciate that.
Well, with that said, I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the ordinance, as well as authorize the financial director to record the supplement appropriation of $12,000
Waive the.
and the $15,100 from unallocated funds.
Do I have a second? Okay, with a second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Waive the second reading, right?
Waiving the second.
Waiving the second reading. That's part of it, yes.
Thank you.
Unanimous vote on that. Thank you. Okay, now down to number 10, public communication. You're welcome and encouraged to participate. Public comment is taken on items listed on the agenda when they are called. Public comment on items not listed on the agenda will be heard at this time. Comments on controversial items may be limited in large groups or encouraged to select representatives to express their opinions of the group. There were no written requests previous to the meeting, but there was a speaker card from Pat Miller. Please step to the podium and state your name.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council people. I'm Pat Miller, President of the Sutter County Taxpayers Association, and I noticed on the agenda that in closed session, the City Council is considering the purchase of a 10-acre parcel of vacant land at 1441 Odstott Road, and that was on the agenda, I think, 2 weeks ago also, and I'm concerned that it hasn't gone away, that you are still considering that, and hopefully it will be gone on the next agenda, because I don't believe that it is in the taxpayers' interest to purchase property unless there is a specific identified reason for purchasing the property, and that needs to be public, the reason for it. So I believe that, again, I'm asking you folks to please do not spend taxpayer money on property to bail out private enterprise or to go into competition with private enterprise. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and can be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items prior to the time that the council votes on the motion unless members of the city council, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed or removed from the consent calendar for individual action. Consideration for 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Seeing what? Are you asking one to be pulled or what? Okay. Okay, great. Seeing none, I'm looking for action on the consent calendar.
Through the mayor.
Yes.
Recommend staff's recommendation 12 through 17.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Consent calendar is approved unanimously. Thank you. Down to general items. Mr. Ben Moody.
All right. Good evening again. The item before you is in regards to Boat Road rehabilitation project that the city has had on the books the last couple of years that we're excited to get out and bid. So The item before you is in regards to approving the plans, specifications, and estimates to give council approval for staff to bid the project. The project, it was initiated through a grant received through SACOG a few years back with that. Basically, by adding bike lanes, we were able to incorporate some road improvements down at Bogue Road, which is definitely in need of some road maintenance. And so with the project, we're adding a bike lane on the south side. I don't know if you can see, kind of up close to the railroad area. It's real narrow. We're going to add about, it varies, but approximately about 8 feet of pavement to the south and stripe it and new handicap ramps throughout. There's a little bit of coordination with the county where we're having them coordinating to have them contribute a little bit for their share, and also there's grant funding, approximately $530,000. So with this, the logistics are that we've submitted the package to Caltrans for approval. Once we get that approval, which we're anticipating takes between a month to 6 weeks, we will then immediately go out to bid. And so we're hoping to have this brought back to you in the summer for award, and then construct late summer, fall of 2017. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from council members?
To the mayor.
Oh, go ahead, Johan.
I deferred.
Manny.
Okay.
Mr. Cardoza.
That house that's sitting close to the road, is it gonna go right up against it, or are they taking the house out there just east of Railroad, that between there and the apartment complex, or the big historical one? Is that gonna be taken out, or we're gonna put the road right up against it?
So the house that Mr. Cardoza is talking about is there's a kind of a rental house, kind of on an angle there. We're very much aware of that house. It's private property. Technically, part of it sits right on or over the right-of-way line there, and so we're going to do our best to accommodate the bike lane and to we're going to fit it in. Okay. But it is close. We are cognizant of it, and we are working to minimize the impact so we can make that work.
Okay, thank you.
And through the mayor.
Yes.
It would seem to me that a couple jacks and a couple wheels would probably move that house a significant distance back. It's been, so close to the roadway, and it is a vision impairment for pedestrians in that area, and certainly will be for bicyclists. But I wanted to ask an additional question, because this is a heavily traveled roadway, utilizing or the semi trucks utilize this roadway to capacity loads. Is there some portion of this where we're beefing up the substructure of the road surface? Because currently we're probably about a month away from gravel at this point, from all that being crushed up, and certainly this winter was a hard process on that road.
Yeah. Yes. So so the substructure. So to rehab it, basically the standard procedure for a truck route that's considered an arterial is that we're not doing a slurry seal or a cape seal. This is going to be a full overlay hot mix asphalt put in place to help reduce those cracks from reflecting. So we'll put a good 1.5 inches down, and then we'll put what they call a paving fabric, a petromat, that kind of acts as a barrier for the cracks to come through, and then we'll come back and put a good solid 3 inches on top of that. So you're looking at a new paved road of about 4 inches on top of the existing with that paving fabric. To re-gut it and to really rebuild the road to a current standard, that would be close to like 6 inches of asphalt on top of 23. It really just cost prohibitive, and we think that the product we're proposing will do us good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any more questions? Seeing none, looking for action.
I'd move to approve staff's recommendation.
I'll second.
Got a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous vote. Thank you. Moving on to Diana Langley on our water supply and conservation update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Before I get started on my presentation, I just want to say that I feel very privileged to be part of the Public Works Department, and I work with a great group of individuals every single day. So you just saw a small portion of them, but it's really a great department to work with. So I'm here tonight to give you an update on our water supply and conservation. If you recall, the city obtains water from the Feather River under 4 water contracts, 2 under the State Water Resources and Control Board, 1 under DWR, we are technically a state water contractor, and then another through the North Yuba Water District. If we have no curtailments, then our contract allotment amount is 32,848 acre feet, and that includes the production groundwater well at the water treatment plant. You can see through the progression of the drought, this is our actual water usage. So in 2013, we went from 18,178 acre feet to last year we were at 13,771 acre feet. So a tremendous amount of conservation took place. This year, so far, we've had no curtailments. We have 100% allotment under our DWR contract, and of course our North Yuba water contract has stayed whole the entire time during the drought. And so this projected water supply of 26,771 acre feet, it's really just a matter of just assuming that the State Water Resources Control Board permits would be curtailed at some time. Those are our winter water contracts, but to date we have not received any notices. But typically we switch over to our North Yuba Water District and DWR contract water in May, this time frame, and then utilize those for the summer. So with that, I'm very happy to report that Yuba City no longer has a water conservation mandate. All irrigation restrictions have been removed, so the previous 2 days per week has completely been removed. However, the governor, in his executive order to encourage people to continue to make water conservation a way of life, has prohibited certain practices permanently, and so those include hosing off sidewalks, driveways, and other hardscapes, washing automobiles without a hose shut-off nozzle, using non-recirculated water in a fountain. This is the one where I see a lot of issues with properties in Yuba City. Watering lawns in a manner that causes runoff. And then you're also supposed to, not supposed to water within 48 hours after a measurable precipitation. So that's become a permanent restriction. And then of course irrigating ornamental turf on public street medians. So for water conservation, we've had a very wet winter, and when you compare our water usage to the same month in 2013, we've actually seen very high conservation numbers over these last few months since July 2016. And in actuality, April 2017 was the highest month of conservation we've received at 35.8%. So a tremendous amount. So why is that important? As we move into discussing the water rates, which will be presented next Tuesday at the budget workshop, the proposed water rates. The previous rate model was based upon a 15% conservation amount. You can actually see that our customers actually maintained a higher level of conservation. And so, you know, as we present to you the revenues and the projections and the recommendation for water rates going into next fiscal year, you know, just keeping that in mind as we move forward. The other reason this is important as we go into the state requirement of 20% reduction by 2020, we're actually way ahead at this point, which is great. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You want to encourage your water customers to conserve, but then you also want to encourage them to use so that they you know, don't impact the rates too greatly. But we have a lot of cushion right now in terms of meeting that 20% by 2020 conservation mandate. However, Governor Brown has talked about in the future increasing that to perhaps 25% reduction by 2025 or some variation of that. So I don't think that we've heard the end of that. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any question from council members for Diana?
Through the mayor?
Yes,
Yeah,
Councilman
Diana,
Cardozo.
on your challenges there, it's tough. It's nighttime watering, you got rolling rivers at night. I know it's tough. I've been out and about. You see it all over. I guess we'll just have to educate or something like that. I'll trust your judgment on how you would like to handle it.
Yeah,
But it's not during the day. I see a lot. I'm out about it. There's a lot at night.
Yeah, you know, our customer service reps at City Hall, when they're out and about, if they see somebody's, you know, irrigation that's going over the sidewalk, they'll try to stop and do a door hanger or something like that. You know, we don't have night patrols in place. When we were under the 32% mandate, we did have night patrols that went out to, you know, encourage people to reduce their watering. We're not doing patrols now since we don't have a conservation mandate. But, you know, where we can, we encourage people to fix their sprinklers. That's a big part of it that we see is they just have a broken sprinkler head and maybe they just don't even know because it's early in the morning and they're just not out to see the water going down the gutter pan. So, you know, it's important to test your irrigation system and be there to see it operating to make sure it's functioning properly.
Mr. Mayor, just on that note, while we don't have water watch patrols out there, the public, including councilmen, are. And through our YC311 app, anyone can take a picture. GPS locates it, submit it. Diana's staff will receive that, and we will go out in a non-punitive way, but in an educational way to the home and let the people know that they have water problems and that they can fix them. So we encourage anyone from the public to help us out here. Thank you.
Councilman Buckland?
Thank you, Mayor. Diana, when we're talking about our DWR contract, and we're one of the contractors along with a few others in the state of California.
Just a few, yeah.
What percentage of the water user are we of that system?
0.24%. So we're 9,600 acre feet, and the state water project is approximately 4 million acre feet.
And by population, that would be on the volume. On the population factor, what would we be?
I believe it's about 0.27%. So our water service population is approximately 70,000, and the state water project serves 26 million.
Okay, and that could have some effect in the future as we look at rates and everything else, depending on what occurs with DWR and certainly even our allotments for future.
It could. So we haven't received anything from DWR in relation to the Orville incident. So they haven't been talking about you know, their potential costs associated with that, and we haven't received any notification associated with that. So you know, we continue to watch to see if anything's going to move forward. I know that they've submitted that project to FEMA, and so if they were successful in obtaining money through FEMA, FEMA would reimburse the 75%. And so then the state would be figuring out the other 25%. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion on that moving forward.
And the reason I asked it is because a couple of days ago in the paper, you know, above the fold, the headline had just that in it. And then today or tonight, when you bring up future costs for the water system. So just wanted individuals to be aware that we are one of the contractors in that system. So thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Diana.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to 20, we have a presentation of investment report. We have Mr. Spencer Morrison, our city treasurer.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight I bring before you the treasurer's quarterly investment report for the quarter ending March 31st, 2017. And the third quarter portfolio values on the slide. We talk about that the portfolio had a market value of $100 million. About 99.2 million of that is in city-held funds, as opposed to district bonds, which are held in trust. About 16.8 million net increase from last quarter. Some of the significant cash flow events were the first installment of the 2017 property taxes, and payroll, of course, is always a major expense, and lots of activity still in the flood protection projects with the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency. We had 8 investments mature or sold, and 7 were purchased. The average yield matured or sold was 1.02%, and the average yield purchased was 1.63%. When I first was providing these reports to council, you can almost just erase the 1 from the front of that number. So it doesn't feel like we've come that far, but we've really come that far. The city-held composition is made up of agency funds, about 20%. That's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and so forth. U.S. Treasury bonds, about 9%. Muni and state bonds is about 5%. Corporate bonds is about 14%. And certificates of deposits are about 5%. And then we've also got local agency investment fund, or LAIF, makes up about 40%. And other cash, money market, and cash-like investments is about 7%. So about 47% of that is fairly liquid. So we had lots of news out of North Korea, Syria, and Turkey, and that news prompted investors to reduce their risk in their portfolio holdings. And then, on the other hand, we had the first round of the French elections and the follow-up election in May, and that prompted rallies of stocks and currencies and bonds yields throughout the world. But as the city's list of available investments and risk is limited by government code, there was very little benefit or harm based on world news. The city's portfolio did see asset-backed securities and corporate papers outperform treasuries, and better yielding investments became available in the market. In the charts, you can see, you can see that of the major indexes, the index that the city's portfolio most mirrors actually was the only of the major indexes that outperformed itself from 12 months ago. So you can see some of these big S&P 500s, Russell 2000, they're doing much worse this year than yield-wise than they were last year. Even though we're clicking along at 0.7%, the index last year was negative 0.7. So we're actually doing pretty well. In the coming quarter, also, and additionally, I have up here this other window shows how much better commercial paper is doing than the federal agencies and U.S. Treasuries down here. So in the coming quarter, you can expect to see more purchases of corporate paper, asset-backed securities, and negotiable CDs as treasuries and agencies begin to mature, since they continue to represent good value and less market risk in our shorter duration portfolio. With that, do you have any questions?
Council? Seeing none, thank you for the report.
My pleasure.
And giving some good explanations to it. Okay, number 21, SB 649 opposition letter presented by Mr. Darren Gale. He had some concerns regarding this and asked to bring it to us. Thank you.
So SB 649 is a bill related to small cell infrastructure for wireless communications, both cell phones and Wi-Fi. This bill would allow by right approval for these new infrastructure when they be put in. It also puts a carve out for coastal communities. So coastal communities could actually put restrictions on these. Rural communities like ourselves would not. It would be a by right approval. Also, it limits the amount of money that cities can charge for leases for parks. Some of the discussions has been that these might be on light standards in the future. And this would set an actual rate for that. It would not be a market rate based system. As a result of these issues of really especially the by right approval for these and for the limiting the lease amounts, we would request the council approve an opposition letter. Also, the federal government has significant guidelines and regulations as it relates to cell phone towers. And this bill was to be heard in committee this past Monday. It was put into the suspense file.
and I've been told just this afternoon that it'll be heard in the Appropriations Committee of the Senate on Thursday. So the League of California Cities has been working on a variety of issues, but we would encourage an opposition to SB 649 to work on a variety of the issues that League of California Cities have in your staff report and the 3 items that I mentioned here this evening.
Any questions by council members for Mr. Darren Gale on this? And I noticed how you're running the by right approval. You're running that together. And it sounds like it's a statement in itself, but it's basically somebody would get something by right. And that's the kind of approval which would kind of basically limit the city, and they could put all kinds of those all over the place, and we would have very little to say about it. So that's more the direction. Any questions or comments from council? Seeing none, do we have any action?
I would move to approve staff's recommendation and that being backed by League of California Cities also.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, if you didn't, I would have. Go for approval. You got a vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Yes, I did say it weird. I don't know why. I don't know why.
So you're kind of waiting.
Do we have a vote for approval? Okay, thank you very much. Moving on, we're going to go to business from the City Council. Council Member Buckland.
And I'm going to apologize to members of the council and to the public, and for those that may watch us on television later. My report's going to be somewhat lengthy tonight.
Join the crowd.
Somewhat lengthy. Back a couple weeks ago, SACOG, I attended our Government Relations and Public Affairs Committee, where we looked and reviewed the overall work program for SACOG. That was the crux of the work that was done 2 weeks ago. And in order of things to be done, we had to do that a couple weeks ago to then look at our next meetings, which I'll go into here in just a little bit. I attended Cap to Cap through the Sacramento Metro Chamber and went out as a requested member of SACOG to look at transportation and housing in corridors in the Arlington, Falls Church, and Fairfax areas. Brought back some ideas. This was a full day out on a bus and walking tour. Left Washington, D.C. at about 8:30 in the morning, and I returned to Washington, D.C. at about 8:30 at night. It was a full day in which we saw uses of transportation uses, some very forward-thinking, out-of-the-box housing components that were mixed use, other components, large shopping centers, and just the overall method in which they're put together, and also formulated by the developers to integrate larger components of the population. Some people would probably refer to this, some of it as stack and pack housing. But as we look at the future, the new generations, most of the housing that we were looking at was currently being lived in by the 30-somethings or less. Their choice for living is certainly going to be changing, and that's a topic that I think has been out and certainly is being talked about even by the media on how things will be kind of transformed even in the next 5 to 10 years. So it was some great opportunity to be able to go out with a contingent. I think we had about 20 folks on that tour, and it seemed to be a very worthwhile opportunity for all of us. At Cap to Cap, we had about 360 attendees back there, and there are also members from this council back, but I had a number of meetings. I'm going to go through them very, very quickly. But I had a meeting with the State Finance Committee. The Senate Finance Committee. My pen was starting to wear out on me earlier today. Again, looking at a budget was passed. This was on Monday. Sunday night, the continuing resolution for budget was passed. And so we were looking at what was known to be available in the next budget cycles, and certainly through 2017. Right after that, I had a meeting with a subcommittee on Homeland Security. This was with the minority group over in the Senate, and one of the asks that we have there is that they look at the global entry program for SEC International Airport, which would make the obtaining global entry cards available applications right down here in Sacramento. There's one in San Francisco and I think 4 in Southern California. So we're looking for that assistance. Also, the post 9/11 impact on disaster planning and how information can be obtained for disaster planning. Being able to release that from a less secure environment to those that need to be in knowledge of what they're facing, specific to Oroville Dam. Also had a meeting with the Senate Subcommittee on Homeland Security. This is the majority. Again, have some confirmation from them that they'll try to move forward the global entry program for SEC Airport. Also looking at some FEMA funding opportunities for dynamic mapping related to disasters. So there is a great hope and certainly a desire by this subcommittee to be able to try to move that forward. And also then had a meeting with the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. This is a minority meeting. And we spoke about the FEMA grant opportunities again for disaster response and have, it appears, some bipartisan support to be able to try to move some more grant funding forward in the 2018 funding. Tuesday morning, met with Transportation for America, talked about some of the grant opportunities, some of the shovel-ready projects that we might be able to engage in. Had an update on the Office of Management and Budget from the White House, looking at what their administrative budget or the administration's budget is looking like, but also the Tiger grants and some of the funding under MAP 21 or a like component to MAP 21 that may be able to be funded in 2018. To piggyback on that, I met with Congressman Garamendi, specific to transportation and the needs for our area, and some of that was related to ingress, egress during emergency operations in our area. Lunchtime, we had an opportunity to hear from the Associate Justice Kennedy, which I will tell you was an absolute privilege and worth every moment that I stood there and listened to him and how he makes decisions on our court, on our largest and most important court. Shortly after that, I was able to go back into a second meeting with Congressman Garamendi. This was a specific meeting. There were some members of this council there. And this was to the Fifth Street Bridge permitting process, being able to move our permitting process forward more rapidly. Army Corps of Engineers is holding up signatures for a 30-day period. We didn't see why that couldn't be done in about a half hour. And we asked for some help and resolution on that. And that has moved forward rather well with the help of Emily, one of his staff members back there. Also met with the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and this is the majority side, again asking for some of the needs that we have specific to our area, federal funding to help our current local street conditions, them understanding what percentage we're falling behind Also looking for some input and where we can be more effective in the near future. Looking at our infrastructure for bridges, rail, dams, old dams, and even those that are to be built, and certainly all of our federal highways. On Wednesday morning, before leaving Washington, D.C., I was able to attend a civic amenities survey result session. This was a 4-county area. Yuba and Sutter counties were left out of the initial survey, will be included in future surveys, but certainly looking at what the public sees as valued amenities. And surprisingly, top on that list were outdoor activities to include walking trails and parks. It was no surprise, I don't suppose, to a lot of us. Just here the other day, I attended the SACOG GRAPPA meeting. This was the second in line, so we could approve the budget for SACOG, and the budget moves forward as a status quo, essentially off of last year, because the employees groups at SACOG moved forward with some cost reductions related to their retirement packages. Also attended the Sabufka meeting, led by our mayor here the other day, looking at a number of different things, and I think I'm going to defer just for time that meeting to, or the contents of that meeting to the mayor. Saturday, I was able to attend the John Garamendi at an event down at his ranch down in Calaveras County. A number of area residents were also there. I will tell you that it was a well-run event, and to be able to hear the congressman speak with some of his supporters, he is a man of quality and integrity, and certainly cares deeply about our communities and moving them forward in the future. Yesterday, had a meeting with our city manager, with the San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority, Mr. Dan Lovett and Steve Cohn. There is talk potentially of an Amtrak extension of service, creating kind of a commuter line that would come north up to our area. We don't have a lot of details on it yet. They're looking for public support behind this, but it would change hourly transportation out of the San Joaquin area up into Sacramento as a commuter line, but also, and the third most populated line in the Amtrak line is the line between Sacramento and the Bay Area, the third most populated line in the United States for Amtrak. So they are looking to enhance ridership through the valley with rail service. Also, the other day we did a river tour. This is only going to take about 3 minutes, and I will try to talk through this so you better understand what is up on this video. The river flow was at about 22,000 cubic feet a second. First thing we looked at was illegal camping alongside the river. I don't have any pictures of actual camps for their security because they are committing crimes down there, to include illegal water diversion. Also, this pump is running over to a marijuana garden. The dumping, the trash that is left behind, even after a high water event, where 50,000 CFS have come down through there or more. This is a project right between the 5th and 10th Street bridges. This is a heavy equipment moving riprap into the toe of the levee and the riverbank. To support that, there was a section of a couple hundred feet that was absent any riprap, where you see the equipment there that was existing. Everything south, as that pan down, that's all the new riprap that's being put in. That should help support the riverbank for the future. This is also a project that we think needs to move forward throughout the river corridor. We have heavy bank erosion north of Yuba City. The water is up extremely high. The elevation of this water is very, very high right now. So you're not going to see a tremendous amount of the damage,
that all these banks, those are trees that have fallen into the river. Many of those trees are 100 years old. Some of them, the oaks, the big oaks, are 100 years old. There's a tremendous amount of farmland that's fallen in, and all of this has been due to the rapid rise and the rapid lowering of the water. We heard from Mr. Filter while we were out there, a 3-generation farmer, of what he has seen over his lifetime. This is the worst, folks. This is all up in the area of their farms. This is the Yuba County side of the river. Rows of trees have fallen into the river. All of that silt, those trees and everything else are in that river too. This is a large piece up by Live Oak. About 225 feet of the riverbank are gone. This is now all underwater. You can see irrigation pipes for 3 or 4 feet underground. Orchards that have been there in place are all now absolutely eroded dry. Again, riverbank, miles and miles of riverbank down inside of our river. That mud, that dirt will affect fish runs, Chinook salmon, all of the species that live within the river. It's going to have a heavy impact. It's going to have an impact potentially on our infrastructure here in Yuba City, to include our water intake system and our expulsion of our wastewater back into the river. We have some action items that certainly need to be addressed, and one's the removal of trees, debris, and the trash and sediment from the river. We need to place some riprap on the heavy bank erosion areas, and that's going to be miles and miles of it. Replace the spawning gravel for the upper river. That's from Oroville down to Gridley. Silt management to get deeper channels for safe navigation, fish passage, and other areas, removing all those deposits. And we need to work to fund the Lower Feather River Corridor Management Plan that our mayor helped initiate that management plan. I've been on this river for 30-some years. I'm going to tell you that I was shocked, even in the high water, to see the amount of damage that has happened. Let me explain how this happened and how it was explained to me. The water comes up rapidly. It soaks into the soil, and when they lower the water in a rapid manner, all of that heavy soil that now is fluid is pretty much sucked right back into the river. It's not from the erosion as it was passing over that it would normally do. It's from being pulled back in and those riverbanks being released. To do that a number of times during the course of what they've done with DWR and Oroville Dam has caused this continual recession of the riverbank. So with that, and I think the recommendations that we would have for action moving forward, you're going to see at least one council member deeply engaged in the process of trying to move forward the restoration of our greatest natural resource, and that's the Feather River. That's all I have.
I'll say my comments regarding that, what you presented. Thank you very much until my time, but okay, Councilmember Cardoza.
Okay, it's been a long month. Had a lot of goodies to do, a lot of fun stuff. We'll start with meetings. I attended the Yuba Sutter Transit Authority meeting, Gilsizer Drainage District, Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency, the Yuba Sutter Homeless Consortium, and then all council last week we attended the DWR community meeting at the fairgrounds. I was at the Economic Development Commission Yuba Sutter Business Consortium Business Walk. We walked and I had the honors of talking to 9 businesses down Garden Highway between Winship and Epley Drive. And we asked them what we can do to make life better for them. They all said that life's very good in Yuba City right now. It was due, the businesses were fewer agriculture, was just strictly due to weather. But everybody's happy with our community at this time, and everything's doing well there. I attended the promotion and swearing in of two new sergeants and lieutenants. These were promotions within. Sean and I took a tour yesterday of our animal shelter. I'll let Sean elaborate on that That way we don't have to do it twice, but got to meet staff, and it was a very good tour. Learned a lot of stuff. I was out with the police department Friday night for a few hours with the sobriety and driver's license check. We were there. I was there for about 3 hours. There was a little over 600 cars that went through. Between the time I was there, there was no DUIs, but a lot of people driving on suspended license. So we had the tow companies were very busy that evening. I had the honors of going over to River Valley High School and wishing Jasmine Dawson a happy 18th birthday. She had a pretty rough year, so we brightened up her day on her 18th birthday, and we gave her a gift bag of city goodies. For community events, I attended the Hats and Horses Kentucky Derby after party at the fairgrounds, and this was for the Yuba City Fair Foundation. The United Way, the Elegant Soiree and Masquerade at the Calusa Casino. The 30th Annual Italian Night, sponsored by the Kiwanis. The Blue Moms Military Veterans Appreciation Day. With the help of the Early Risers Kiwanis, we helped serve. They did it this year. Instead of doing it the second day, they did it the first day. So we only served 150 people for the Yuba City Relay for Life. So we did it on the first day, and then also we served the Sutter County Employees Appreciation Day. We served 600 Sutter County employees. I also helped the Yuba City Police Officers Association serve breakfast at the Girls on the Run 5K event this last Saturday. I also attended the Foster Youth Services Mentoring and Coaching Paint Night, and this was courtesy of the Sutter County Superintendent of Schools. We have mentors teaching children, young children, giving them wisdom, and we had a paint night, and great artists. They were the ages between, the youngest was 9 up to 14, 15, and it was a fun time. Great, they taught them how to paint from a bare canvas, and there was some great artists. For chamber stuff, attended ribbon cuttings, Remax Gold, Golden Pacific Bank, and Aegis Treatment Center. Attended the Business Connection Breakfast, Business After Hours at John L. Sullivan. Attended the Northern Central California Chamber Ambassadors Rally at Southridge Country Club. And then last but not least, I would like to wish all the mothers happy Mother's Day, belated Mother's Day. And that's it for me. Thank you. Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on in the community.
It's been a month. It wasn't 2 weeks. It was for a month.
Yep, whole month.
You sure
Okay,
you're
with
retired?
that, Councilman Harris?
Sure you're retired, huh?
That's what it is. He's retired. All of us are working.
I don't have a video. Don't have a long list as long, but I've been to a few functions. Your video. A few things. I got an invitation to the Republican Women Luncheon over there at the Plaza Room. Attended that, which is good. Speaker by Nathan Black there from the county. Attended a Yuba Sutter Transit Board meeting. I also went to Italian night, and I managed to avoid pasta somehow. I'm not sure, but it looked pretty good.
Well, what's the point?
Well, if you saw my belly, you'd know. Anyway, it was good to shake a few hands and meet a few people over there. Career fair at River Valley High School, very good. We had a booth over there. I got a chance to talk to some of the kids. Had some questions about city government and the semester at City Hall coming up. I had lunch with Senator Nielsen over here at Ting's place for about 45 minutes. He was busy, I was busy, but we managed to cross paths for a while. Had some good conversations about the city, the direction the city is going. Also a man of integrity, a very personal guy, does really cares about us and what we have going and what our issues are, specifically asked what he can do to help us. So we provided a little bit of insight there and got one result was that day. Also attended the Elegant Soiree over at Calusa Casino. It was a good event. The DWR meeting at the fairgrounds, very well attended. Some good information and feedback from folks there. Sat in on the Sabufka meeting as an alternate. I also sit on the Gilsizer board and attended that, which was quite well. I had the privilege also of seeing my friend of 20 plus years, Dennis Houck, being sworn in as a sergeant for Yuba City PD, along with another one of his counterparts, and 2 others promoted to lieutenant. Very good. It's always good to see the families and everyone here and taking pictures and being a happy moment with the PD. So it's good to support them. Spoke kind of an introductory. They said I talk too long. I tend to always do. But at every 15 minutes program at River Valley High School. A very good program. It's always emotional, always very effective and poignant for those students. And I think one of the things you're always scared of, they had their prom was going to be that following weekend. And that's like, don't be stupid. And they weren't. They did a good job. They had a good time. It was a safe thing for them. So full of good memories. And yes, I did go to the animal control facility. I don't know what you want me to elaborate on, but
a lot of animals.
Dog? I managed. There was about 3 that I could have walked away with, and luckily I refrained from doing that. But one thing for sure, sir, you have a very good and professional staff and a beautiful facility. If anybody ever has an opportunity to see what they do for us, I think it's state of the art. I'm not a professional on those types of places, but to look at it and how clean and well maintained and the services they provide, I learned more than I didn't learn. You know, it was very good. So thank you for that opportunity. And that's it. It was a busy month, and we're looking forward to many more. So that's it for me.
Great. Vice Mayor Vidball.
Awesome. I'll try to keep it short.
It's hard to when it's a whole month.
Yeah.
I'm gonna abbreviate mine.
Councilmember Buckland shared a majority of the Washington trip, but I'll add a few things on that one. I also went to Washington, D.C. with Cap to Cap, and I was part of the Workforce and Education Committee. So along with Councilmember Buckland, some of the additional meetings that I attended were related to our workforce and how to get our youth as well as folks that are in college or trade schools and so forth ready for the workforce, and what can we do to promote and make sure that they are career ready when they come out to actually get into interns or actual jobs. One of the areas that I was really passionate about, as Councilmember Harris just brought up, is the Summer at City Hall program was actually brought up in Washington, D.C. So I was really proud that we were able to represent Yuba City with that program there as well. One of the things that we are looking to do with this program is make a regional effort with it, and also to collaborate, as Brad and both Darren are working with us together, to make that a career readiness program as well. So we are very, very excited. We completed all the interviews for the Summer at City Hall program. We have 18 accepted students. Our first day here at City Hall will be June 5th. We have a mandatory orientation plan for the 25th, May 25th, for parents and accepted students to make sure that we've signed all the waivers and so forth and got them all ready to participate on June 5th. So very exciting times for those students, and we got a great group of students. They were very, very excited to be a part of that program. Along with that, did attend the meeting with Congress Garamendi regarding our 5th Street Bridge. After that, I had a great privilege to stay with Congressman Garamendi as he found out that this was my first trip to Washington, D.C., so he was kind of blown away by that. So he had me stay, and I invited Darren. Since we were in the same building, we were able to go to the House floor while they were voting. So he took us when the bells were chiming and went down those hallways and went into the members-only area to watch what they do. Chaotic, to say the least. Also, the luncheon with Justice Kennedy was phenomenal. That was an opportunity that I'm very honored that I was present at that time. Also attended the swear-in ceremonies for a couple of our sergeants, as well as our lieutenants, a few days ago. Let's see, what else was there? I think that pretty much covers, since we were on this trip that took a full week. I just want to say, with graduations coming up, everybody please be safe. Lots of parties going on, scholarship nights. I do want to make a personal proud mama here. My daughter has been accepted to university and has received an academic scholarship. She actually walked herself onto the university volleyball team. And so her signing and press release is scheduled for next Wednesday at the River Valley high school library at 6 o'clock. So those who are available, please come and join the festivities. We'll have cake and refreshments afterwards. We're just really excited. So it's a great time, and I've seen several other kids who received the press release and signings as well. So as we see Pat and Chuck there, their granddaughter did as well. So just exciting times, and just please be safe with all the parties and so forth that are going on right now. So with that, I will turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you very much. As you hear, while we did not have the 2 meetings this year as far as regular, we did have lots of special meetings, not just with DWR, but our own on different issues. And then, of course, we did attend, I also went to Cap Washington, D.C. Probably guess my specialties are water resources and flood protection, since those have been, excuse me, now about 10 years of those efforts already in different capacities. Each one of us has a specialty that we deal with and are passionate on, and so we were actually utilized very strongly by the committees to be key components in the efforts. But I was on water resources, which has to do with water supply. Oroville was definitely discussed, and perhaps some reforms to NEPA, which is the National Environmental Protection Act, I think it is. I always get those things all mixed up. And some reforms dealing with different components, including the air quality districts. I was asked to go attend an extra meeting, which I wasn't on a committee, because I do serve on FRACMID, which is our local air quality committee. And we were, Supervisor Matt Conant went also, and we were able to contribute extra ideas and concepts and stuff with them, and real life examples, and enlightened some of the electeds back there in Congress. But then I also, the West Feather River Levee project was discussed for the funding for getting that improvement, because that is part of our benefit assessment passed for the region. And Corps of Engineers, I think it's, and this is also part of Sabufka, because it all kind of blended together, Sutter Flood Control Agency. They moved a project that was not even on the list of hundreds of projects to where we are in the top 4 list, and perhaps even 3, because they're talking about only 4 are going to be funded, and they have certain categories, 1 in one category, I don't remember what they are at this moment, 1 in another, and 2 in another category. We qualify to be in either the 1 or the 2. So we have a high probability that our project will get funded, and if we had not been back there, that wouldn't even been, we wouldn't have been on thought of. This was one to where it was very effective. So it's phenomenal. I mean, the fundings that are being cut back at the Capitol right now in Washington, D.C., the things that are being looked at changed. Luckily, we're going to be, looks like, in the top running for the remaining funding. Let's see. Of course, the 10th Street and the 5th Street bridge water problem, or the bank erosion that was there. Of course, I don't know if anybody saw it, but they had the equipment out there shoring it up. Some of the funding needed to make sure that that gets financed and taken care of was also being discussed. Justice Kennedy, wow, what a brilliant man. A man of few words, but every word that he spoke it literally had volumes of meaning behind it. You really had to listen carefully and to follow him. Brilliant understanding of the judicial system, how to make it work, even with the diversity that they have, and understanding of the responsibility of that body to the citizens of the United States. Just a brilliant man. Let's see, SACOG, you mentioned some of the items at SACOG. Thank you for fighting so hard for us. I did have a question regarding that. Are we advanced in any of our projects on there, or is it just going to be, were you able to get some arm twisting? he doesn't want to say maybe.
Arm twisting is part of the process.
Yes, it is.
You know, as we try to move forward some of our local projects, while we were in Washington itself, our Bridge Street project, that complete corridor, was discussed. There's no grant money on that side, but yet, while I met with other members of SACOG while we were back there, sometimes not having the opportunity to do otherwise, we talked about some of the measures to be able to advance that project forward. So we look forward to what can be done, and especially when it comes to ingress, egress related to our emergency operations in the area.
And that was part of it, the emergency operation improvements for our roads. So we have new opportunities for framing our argument for why we need our road improvements.
We even discussed the third bridge option, so.
Yep. Yeah. Well, as a local item, and actually it's being discussed at a deeper level than we would have expected. So I did actually have the opportunity to speak Sutter High School for the Junior Statesman's Assembly, and their subject of the night was apathy toward local government, or apathy dealing with public issues. And they wanted to know how I got into politics and how I even thought about running. And so I just told them the truth, how it actually happened. Some of the ideas, I just wanted to be fly on the wall and watch what was going on at a central committee. And a year and a half later, I was running for office, and it was like a little shock to me, but it did definitely open my eyes as to the need, and I thought maybe I could contribute, and hopefully I have been successful in that. I visited airport monthly pilots meeting, where they talk about serving a $100 sandwich for $5. In other words, they talk about the fuel that they have to fly in to get the thing. I just get to drive over there. At this time, I have been doing a lot of contracts in our business, our sewing company. So some of these meetings that I've been wanting to get to, I've been unable to make it to. Some of the more social ones, since when you have a business, you have contracts, you get them done or you lose contracts. So I've been quite busy on some of that lately. So I will definitely be able to get back out in a little bit more in the social issues and committees and events. With that, I have nothing else. And is there any? We will be going into closed session. Should I name out the items that we're going to still be addressing?
You don't have to do that, Mayor, unless you want to. It's listed on the agenda.
Okay. But it's a continued closed session. So thank you. Regular meetings, except for the closed session, adjourned.